Good morning, Richard.
Well, good morning, Keith Jones,
How you
right
doing?
from Memphis, Tennessee.
That's right. You coming from Sedona, right, man? What's the area code? 520?
The area code up in Sedona is 928.
It's 928. That's right, 928.
928.
Okay.
I think south is 520 in Arizona,
Okay. And
like
Chicago,
Tucson.
in Chicago, where you grew up, what it was it?
312.
312. And Shelby County, Memphis, where I'm from, 901.
901, Shelby County. All right.
Yeah, 901. Man, so it's really great to see you as always, man. I see you got a pullover there. Has fall set in
Oh,
Sedona?
yeah. We're well past summer now. We've been into it for a couple of weeks. So the highs are probably 75 and the
Mhm.
lows are probably 40,
Okay.
45.
Okay.
It's beautiful in the morning if you like chilliness, and I do.
Yeah, you know how I feel.
You need hand warmers, maybe.
I hand formers, yeah. So,
Yeah?
man, I thought we'd do a show titled Stumble Up. Okay, so I'm going to
Oh,
describe that to you.
okay.
So this show was inspired by one of my friends at Mayo Clinic. Her name is Lisa Lamond. And we were at a fundraising event that really was to help medical school students with the cost of going to medical school, particularly from backgrounds that were underrepresented in medicine.
Hmm.
And it was just an incredible event, put on, and really so many people are involved, but it's the brainchild of the founders, Alex Porter and her husband, Dr. Humphrey. I mean, just really amazing people, man. And all of Mayo Clinic is fully behind it. And so I was privileged enough, honored to get an invite. So on our way out, I'm talking to Lisa Lamont, who happens to be an amazing physician, so talented at Mayo Clinic. And I was asking her, kind of about her path of getting there. She's so brilliant. It's like it was a smooth path, right? There was no like upset or suffering along the way. Oh, she's like, oh, there was suffering along the way. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, I got out of medical school and I'm trying to find my place, with residency and fellowship and stuff like that, and really trying to secure a job. And so there's a job that she, if I have the story right, there's a job that she wanted. I mean, that attachment thing, and she really wanted this job, and she didn't get it, and she was devastated. And so she talked to her mom, and her mom gave her this advice, which was, "Don't worry, things happen for a reason. It'll work out." And she's like, "What are you talking about? This is the stuff that people say when they're trying to comfort people, and it's not true. That is not true." And she said, but then I landed here at Mayo Clinic, and she says, it's not falling down, it's stumbling up. And so hence the
Stumbling.
title of the
Oh,
podcast, Stumbling Up.
oh,
And I
stumbling.
just love that phrase, that she told me or she coined. And I think about that all the time with my own life. But before I share my own experiences of how I stumbled up, maybe you can start us off.
Oh man, Keith, what a great idea for a show. I think that's one of the big illusions in life that we all have this clear path that's basically like a 45-degree angle, on the X and Y axis, and it's always leading from the southwest to the northeast, straight up, and there's no glitches. And I don't know anybody that's had that kind of a path. And if they have, I think that they're not only incredibly lucky, but I think they've probably missed out on a lot of important life lessons, like your friend and you and me. Let me tell you one of mine. Let's see when I passed the bar, I was a county attorney for a few years. And then I thought, well, I can't make any more money. And this is really a great job, but it's so narrow. I keep doing criminal cases over and over again. So I put some feelers out and I got hired by Snell and Wilmer, which is at the time the biggest firm in Arizona. And I think I was the 65th guy on the letterhead. And I had modest credentials. I graduated somewhere in the middle of my class, and I was a good trial lawyer, but I was more of a street guy. I wasn't an intellectual guy. And so they really didn't know what to do with me. And I got crosswise with one of the most important guys in the firm right off the bat. And then it was just a mess. And so they fired me. After about 3 years, they fired me. It was the only job I've ever been fired from. And I was devastated, just like your friend, the doc, was like, this is the end of the world and you're trying to comfort me and I'm a loser. And, what am I going to do? Well, what happened was I stumbled into another partnership that was breaking up. And because I had a lot of trial experience, I wasn't afraid to go to the courtroom. So I took on a bunch of files and we had immediate success. I was lucky on a couple of them, but I was able to do these trials, boom, 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 and we got good results. And boy, the floodgates opened and I got lots of business. And for that first year after Snell and Wilmer, I made almost double what I had made before. And I became eventually the head of the trial practice section for all of Arizona. Wow. And the point of that is not only in my case, it wasn't a stumble. It was like a meat cleaver to the throat. Here I am, fired from a prestigious firm. What am I going to do? And I not only stumbled, I mean, I choked and choked and choked. And then finally this miracle happened. But that's an example of what you're talking about. You get hit in the head and then something opens up for you. And usually it's a combination of right time, right place, but also a lot of your own personal grit and your own personal stick-to-itness and your own personal belief in yourself that gets you out of it.
Oh man, I completely agree, man. I love that story, man. It's one of those things you look back, you're like, I'm glad it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, so true.
Especially when you look at maybe some of the other folks who, say the law firm, and they're being grinded down with 80-hour work weeks, and the bar just keeps being raised and raised and raised, and you just feel all that stress and pressure to continue to perform. I mean, like, let's get the show pony back out there. Let's get this guy back. What is he doing taking a break? He needs to get back get back in that hamster wheel. What are you doing? In water.
Hey, but I want to hear about yours. What's your stumble up story?
Oh man, it's been a couple, man. I mean, one of the ones was like really stumbling into Arizona. I mean, I had, as I've told most people in some of the presentations that I give, that I had this attachment expectation that once I graduated from high school and went on to the military, that I was going to be stationed as part back in Tennessee, where my family was, and someone who I was my high school sweetheart. And so that was the way life was supposed to go. Uncle Sam said, "No, you're going to Yuma, Arizona." I'm like, "Yuma." I mean, and I stumbled out here, and I continued to suffer for a number of years before I finally embraced Arizona. And it's just such a beautiful place in terms of the landscape, which was something that was in stark contrast to the way that I grew up in Tennessee with all the lush and green and everything else like that. But the beauty of the desert, man, and the brown out here just really, it just comforts me, man. It's really warm to me. So I stumbled. So that's one of the examples of stumbling. But there have been a couple others, man. I had an ego moment when I was teaching some exercise classes at the Village here, one of the upscale fitness resorts here in the Valley. And the owner really tried to not the owner, but the manager really tried to help me see, the big picture. This guy was so peaceful, Rick. He was unbelievable.
Nice.
I'll never forget him. His name was also Rick. I mean, something about the Ricks. And what happened was, I was very black and white, regimented about the way things should be. And they had this one member who would come in late to the exercise class. And this happened over time. And I was always like, she can't keep doing this. It's disrupting the class. I got to say something to her. And so she came in late one time, and we were already, halfway through one of the workshop sessions. And she wanted me to kind of recreate the workout for her and have everybody else just kind of wait. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, seriously, what are you doing here? And she was like, well, no, you can't talk to me that way. I'm like, you can't be late. Look how you're impacting everybody here. So, she went and told the manager, and the manager pulled me aside and said, hey, Keith, just got to let that go. You got to be nicer. And my ego doubled down, man. It's like, what do you mean nicer? I mean, she was wrong. He's like, Keith, let it go. I said, no, she owes me an apology.
Oh, man.
I mean, look at this guy. Nobody owes you an apology. But I mean, I was so rooted in Keith 1.0 back then, man. And so he's like, well, Keith, we just can't do that. And I was like, you know what? Then I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break from here until I get my apologies. Like, why don't you take 2 weeks and think about it and things like that? And so 2 weeks passed. And we talked again. He was like, "So Keith, are you in a better space? I mean, we can do this. We really value you here." This guy was peaceful, man. He's like, "We really value you here." I was like, "Nope, my mind's made up. I need an apology before I come back here." He was like,
Oh my dude.
I know, Rick. He's like,
Wow.
"Keith, I mean, we're not going to be able to do that, but I really appreciate you." And so this continued. So the way I stumbled up is I went off and started my own wellness company, which was ToBeRe.
Yeah.
And it
Wow.
was a year later. I would go in there every Thursday for a networking meeting at this fitness resort. They had a nice conference room. And so one day he pulled me aside a year later, and this guy was still playing at the highest level. He said, "Keith, members are still talking about the classes that you gave. They really like your style, and you're really motivating and inspiring. Would you consider coming back? Just come off. Let's talk about it for a while." It's like, "Rick, I really appreciate this, man. I'm glad the members got something out of the classes. I miss them and the opportunity. You've been incredibly gracious and kind to me." He's like, "So does it mean you come back?" He's like, "I'm still gonna need that apology." he was like, "Keith, I'm not gonna be, I'm sorry, man, I'm not gonna be able to do that." He shook my hand, man, as if he just told me I won the lottery. It's like, "Man, we wish you well." And I know he had to be saying, "You know what? Life is gonna have to teach this guy a
That's
lesson."
right. That's right.
Because clearly he is not seeing the big picture. And then life it didn't teach me one lesson. It taught me many along the way that were filled with suffering. But I learned some lessons from that experience about how to treat people. And I thought I treated people well, but I mean, being really gracious, being really kind and compassionate, and not confusing people's behavior with who they are. That was a lesson that it would take me a long time to learn, but I would learn it. And now, that was an example of me stumbling up. I stumbled into founding and ToBeRe and the wellness company. And the same thing happened with Mayo Clinic, man. I was at a time in which I'd already had a pre-existing relationship with doctors at Mayo Clinic who I did things in the community regarding, cancer and cancer survivors, with Dr. Donald Northfeld and Dr. Michelle Halyard. So I already had that relationship, but I never set foot in the Mayo Clinic until a good friend of mine, Tamara Carey, she just happened to walk into a spin class one day. About 3 months later, somebody asked her what she did for a living, and she said, "Oh, I work at Mayo Clinic." I didn't know what she did. I mean, I didn't know if she was, I didn't know if she was CEO or I didn't know if she was like a researcher or if she was a librarian. I didn't know what she did. And we walked around Mayo Clinic. She gave me a tour. I was like, "I want to volunteer here. This place is amazing."
Yeah.
So it was just that tour that I stumbled into volunteering, and then I was asked to do some other things at Mayo or invited to do some other things at Mayo Clinic. And it's just been a beautiful thing ever since. And so my life is filled with a lot of stumbling up.
Yeah. And, I think that's partly the joy of living too. It's the adjustments that we make and the lessons that we learn that we apply to the next thing. I mean, as we age, hopefully we get better, right? We get more understanding.
Hopefully.
We develop more compassion. We develop, I guess, we get off of the black and whites and get into the grays.
Yes.
And that's hard to do when you're 20, 25, or 30. I think it takes a little life experience. And as you said, you had to get smacked around a little bit by that life experience to learn it. But I think stumbling up is a wonderful thing. I think that the times that I've failed in my life have been excellent opportunities for me to reevaluate. It's almost like the universe says to you, "Okay, this didn't happen for you. Don't judge it. It's not whether it's good or it's bad. It just didn't work out the way you wanted it to. So what? What's your next move?"
Yes.
And that's a different kind of analysis than going down the road of judging it. It's bad because I look bad. I got fired. I got all of that weighted value.
Yes.
That you don't need to apply to it. That just gets in the way of trying to solve the problem and trying to move forward to becoming more effective, more compassionate, more on your mission, helping other people and doing the right thing.
Yeah, I agree, Rick. I think people, we as human beings can have this tunnel vision toward a path or a track that we think is going to help us get to the next level of whatever that is, or it equates with career advancement, or whatever that is. We have this one track and tunnel vision toward that. that we don't even see, some of the things along the way that could bring us even more joy. And sometimes we're very fortunate. It doesn't feel fortunate to the ego, but to the higher self, we're very fortunate. Like when you apply for a position, or you are, interviewing for promotion, whether it's to a new role in a department or chair of a department or whatever the case may be, and some other candidate gets it. Next thing you know, something else is created and falls right into your lap, and do you have the, I guess, awareness to treat everything that happens as a gift? I think that's an ingredient
Well,
that's
that's
super
great.
important.
That's great.
That,
Yes.
that even though it is different from your expectations, if you treat everything that happens as a gift, then there's only going to be growth. There's only going to be increased awareness that's going to come your way. And I define that as winning, and I mean, you're just only going to win along the way. And that's what happened with me with the practice. Remember several years ago, Rick, when a lot of the members in ToBeRe parted ways and went into a different direction. And I'm still grateful for the contributions that they made to our little community. But when they did, that was a crossroads. And that crossroads for me really became an opportunity to stumble up, because that's when I started to practice. And I just designed it, and look at what the practice is doing for a lot of folks right now, which I'm incredibly grateful for. But I think the key is seeing whatever happens, whether your mind tells you it's wrong or I don't like it, but seeing everything as a gift. I mean, you won't miss out.
So true, Keith. Well said. Beautifully said. I can't add to it. You did a marvelous job there summing up. That's perfect. Gratitude above all, man. Whatever shows up, grateful for it.
That's it. Rick, thanks, man. I love you.
I love you, Keith. Adios.
Adios.